Rain tapped gently against the window, not in a hurry, not asking to be noticed, only arriving in 1,000 patient fingertips across the glass. Beyond it, the night had dissolved into silver blur, the garden path half hidden beneath mist, the dark branches of the plum tree moving once in a while, as if remembering some distant wind. Inside, the room held the quiet glow of a single lantern resting on the sill. Its light was warm and amber, softening the edges of the old wooden chair, the folded blanket at its arm, the small table where a cup of tea sent up a thin ribbon of steam. By the door, a tired figure stood for a moment without moving, as though the body had made it home before the heart could believe it. Rain clung to the coat in darkened patches. Damp hair curled faintly at the temples. The hands, chilled from the evening, lingered over the latch after it had already been turned, as if they had forgotten what it meant to stop holding on. The room seemed to understand. It offered no demands, only warmth, only stillness. Slowly, the coat was set aside. Shoes, damp from the road, were left on the woven mat. A pair of socks brushed over the worn floorboards with a whispering sound. The figure crossed the room and paused by the lantern, one hand resting lightly on the window frame. Outside, the rain continued its low music over roof tiles and leaves and earth. The glass was cool beneath tired fingertips. For a moment, the reflection in the pane looked like someone half remembered, shoulders carrying more than their share, eyes dulled by too many days spent moving forward without rest. The tea waited nearby, steeped in herbs and something faintly floral. Its warmth spread through the cup and into both hands. When it was lifted, steam touched the face like a kind hand. The first sip was simple, almost plain, and yet it moved through the chest like a quiet light entering a locked room. Breathing, which had been shallow and unnoticed, began to deepen by small degrees. The tightness in the throat loosened a little, not gone, only softened. The way frost begins to surrender at the first hint of dawn. The chair by the window creaked softly when the figure lowered into it, blanket drawn over cold legs, lantern glowing at one side, like a companion who knew the art of silence. Rain traced wandering paths down the glass. Somewhere in the house, wood settled with tiny sighs. The clock on the shelf had long since stopped, and tonight that felt like mercy. Nothing here was asking to be measured. Weariness rose then, not dramatic, not sharp, but old and deep. It lived in the shoulders, in the wrists, behind the eyes. It lived in the habit of enduring. In the endless practice of appearing steady, while some inner room remained in disarray. Sitting there, wrapped in dim gold light, it became impossible not to feel how tired the heart had been, not merely from work or weather or the length of the road, but from carrying unspoken things carefully, as if naming them might cause them to break. The cup was set down, fingers curled into the blanket. The rain kept speaking in its patient language. A memory drifted in, light as fog. Another evening, another window, another version of this same tired soul, waiting for something to return. Certainty, perhaps, or tenderness, or the simpler self that had once found joy in ordinary hours. For a moment, loneliness moved through the room like a draft under the door. It brushed against the lantern light, touched the corners, settled briefly beside the chair. The figure bowed forward, elbows on knees, eyes lowered. The breath caught, not much, just enough to reveal the ache that had been sleeping beneath the surface. And then, because the night was gentle and offered no resistance, the ache was allowed to be there. Nothing was fixed, nothing explained, only this: a hand pressed quietly to the center of the chest, as though feeling for a lost bird. Another breath, then another. Outside, rain on leaves. Inside, the pulse beneath the palm. the body remembering, with some surprise, that it had not been abandoned by itself, that even now, in weariness, there remained this one faithful act of staying. The lantern flame shifted as if breathing too. Its glow trembled over the window pane, over the tea, over the softened lines of a face no longer bracing against the dark dot in that tender uncertainty. Sadness loosened at last, not as a storm, not as collapse, only as two quiet tears slipping warm and unhurried down the cheeks. Disappearing at the jaw, they arrived without shame. They carried no violence. They were simply the body's way of setting down what words had carried too long. Afterward, the room seemed larger somehow, the air easier to enter. Shoulders dropped. The hand at the chest remained there, not to hold anything in now, but to feel the slow rise and fall. The undeniable proof of life continuing softly. The rain had gentled to a finer rhythm, a hush against the night. Somewhere beyond the mist, unseen water moved in the ditch beside the road, gathering the rain and carrying it onward. There was comfort in that, the thought that even sorrow, when finally touched with kindness, might also find its way into motion and leave the heart a little lighter. The tea had cooled, but was still warm enough. Another sip, then the blanket was pulled higher, tucked close beneath the chin. The figure leaned back and watched the lantern by the window cast its golden circle into the dark. A small, steadfast star for no one, and yet entirely enough. Breathing slowed further, the jaw unclenched, the space behind the eyes, once crowded with thought, opened into something quieter. Like a field after rain, night moved on softly. The tree outside glistened black and silver, the mist thinned, somewhere far off. A bird gave one uncertain call, as if morning were already testing the horizon. Sleep came not as an erasure, but as a welcome. The head tilted gently against the chair back, one hand loosened in the folds of the blanket, the other rested near the empty cup, and in the final drift between waking and rest, there was no need to search for anything more. The room was warm. The lantern was near. The rain had washed the edges of the world clean. When the first pale light of dawn touched the window, it found a quiet face, softened by sleep, and a heart that, though still tender, no longer felt so burdened by its own keeping. The lantern had burned low. The tea leaves rested at the bottom of the cup, beyond the glass. The garden shimmered fresh and rain bright, and in that gentle morning hush, with the blanket still warm, and the air carrying the faint scent of wet earth and herbs, peace remained small, steady, and real as though it had been waiting by the window all along.